In mid-July, someone reached out to me to say that they had been speaking to Migro, and when they asked him how many Evo diodes he's using and how many far red diodes he was using, not only did he stop answering him, he got restricted from commenting on his page. He then emailed him and got no response, but then got his girlfriend to email from a different email asking just a basic question and got a response right away. As soon as I heard that, I decided to open my own private investigation. So the first thing I did was come to the website and I look at the light that they're talking about. It's the 750 watt fixture. I can see it's advertised with the Samsung LM301H Evo diodes, which are a very expensive, very good diode. And then I see 3.2, and I was thinking, holy cow, we have a couple fixtures that are 3.2, and I really know what it takes to hit 3.2. The next thing I saw was this spectrum. And right away when I saw that, it just doesn't look right to me. It looks way too full to be 3.2. I know when you hit 3.2 in efficacy, you've got a lot of deep red and it suppresses a lot of green, and it just doesn't look right to me. Then I saw he's using 5000 and 3000K diodes, and it appears he's using 660 and 730 nanometer. So then I went into the specs. I'm looking at everything, and he says he's using Samsung LM301H Evo and LM281B Pro, which are also from Samsung. They're kind of an older diode. And then the other thing I noticed is he's got 3% far red. And as soon as I saw that, I'm thinking, how could you possibly hit 3.2 with 3% far red? It just does not add up to me. I decided I'm going to buy a light and send it to Light Laboratory. So the light landed at Light Laboratory. I paid $750 to do this test. The first thing that I could see, the efficacy is way lower than it should be. It says 2.93 and he has it listed at 3.2. And then I can see there is only 27.67 micromoles of far red, which translates to 1.24% far red, which is telling me there are absolutely no far red diodes, and there's definitely not 3%. Then when I look at the spectrum, I could clearly see that there's no 437 nanometer wavelength, which is a big red flag if you have Samsung Evo diodes. I've seen Light Laboratory make mistakes before, so I wanted to send this back to China for further inspection to just fully see exactly what's going on here. As soon as the light landed in China, we got it into the sphere right away. The very first test that we did, as soon as it was in the sphere, came out at 3.198, which is basically 3.2. But the light hadn't heated up yet, so that's a total inappropriate way to test a light and then publish the number. So after it had heated up for well over half an hour, it came out at 3.105 at 240 volt, and at 120 volt, it came out 3.036. Now we can look at the far red percentage and how many micromoles from each test, and you can see it's very close to the Light Laboratory report. With our test, it came at 1.39. At the Light Laboratory report, it came at 1.24. We can 100% conclusively say there are no far red diodes and there isn't 3% far red in this light. So next, we analyze the diodes. 3030 means 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters. So we concluded that there's 210 possible Samsung Evo diodes or Samsung LM301H or B. And 2835 is 2.8 by 3.5, so it's like a rectangle, and so on. So when looking at the color of the diodes, we could tell that the 210 diodes were 3000 Kelvin. And then there were two sets of diodes. Now, in his description, it says 3000K and 5000K, but there was clearly 1260 4000K and 1260 6500K, which is almost the same thing as 5K. So picture if you had two equal amounts. If you had an equal amount of 4000K and an equal amount of 6000K, you would have 5000K. but it is very close to 5000 K, but he's not using 5000 Kelvin diodes, which is pretty interesting. I don't know why they wouldn't just disclose that. So next we wanted to analyze the diodes. So you can see the bar that is left to Migro's fixture, and that is a PCB board from one of our Tarantula 10 series that uses EvoMint diodes. Well, EvoMint and Evo diodes have the same 437 nanometer wavelength. We have the ability to turn on one diode at a time. So Migro's fixture has 210 possible LM301H Evo diodes. Either that or they're LM301H or LM301B. Now there's 6 bars, which means there's 35 possibilities on one bar. So we actually decided to test all 35 from one bar and also just test ones on other random bars. So this is how we can just test one diode by itself, then test the spectrum so we can be 100% sure exactly what we're saying and exactly what the wavelengths are. So you can see we can then scan it. This is before the spectrum's going to come up, and you'll be able to see what it looks like and where the wavelength is. So it should just click in a second here. It's going to take the scanning. Okay, so you can see that red line. Now we're going to test one from Migro's. And it should be to the left of the red line if it's an Evo diode. And you can see right there the red line, how we're left to it. And it's taking a reading. And you can see it's to the right of it. Which means I can 100% guarantee these are not Samsung LM301H Evo diodes. So this is what the PCB looks like. You can see 4K, 6500K, 3000K, 4000K, 6500K, 4000K, 6500K, and so on. So while I was getting ready to wrap up this video, at the last second I asked my team to grab an Osram diode and put it next to his red diodes. And all of a sudden you can clearly see that his diodes are bigger. And then I went back to the beginning of the video. They measured his diodes and they're 3.5 millimeter. Osram are 3x3. So what type of diodes are these, man? I can't even believe it. Yeah, what series of Osram diodes are 3.5 by 3.5 millimeter? That's a really good question. So I've looked at the specs of the Osram 1.24, 2.24, 3.24, 4.24, 5.24, and 6.24. They're all 3 millimeter by 3 millimeter. And there's 2 brand new diodes that they have, or newer diodes, and they're actually bigger, but they're 3.7. So we can conclusively say 100% these are not Osram diodes. If we jump back to the beginning of the video when I was talking about when I was looking at the spectrum and how it just doesn't look right, it's just too full. On the right is what the spectrum looks like in the spear. So the Light Lab actually has a SQD format, and this is in a SPD format, but they clearly don't match.
for 7 years as a belief. And far red is the current one. Like everybody
Mm.
thinks far red is amazing and it's going to do something special. It's, well, if you put a lot of it in there, it's going to stretch your plants, which we don't want when we're
Right.
indoors because we want plants to be short and dense. Um, Far red does contribute to photosynthesis, so it helps cause growth. But far red LEDs are much more expensive and less efficient than red ones. So why add them? All the scientific testing done shows that increasing far red reduces potency and reduces your yield, but people still want it. So,
Hmm.
people will fall for marketing forever.
Yes.
I kind of feel that I feel some responsibility for some reason, which I'm now wondering why and doubting myself, but for to try and correct this and not sell people lies, which
Yeah.
believe me, Chad, I would love to be able to do that. I kind of have this jealousy, of people who are able to, those people who are just able to sell anything to anybody with no conscience.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of wish I was that
Unfortunately.
person, because,
Right.
well, it'd
I'd
be
be
a lot
living a
easier
different life.
than going by the truth and just sort of how you were talking about earlier, grinding away, just with little improvements here and there, and giving people maybe just a really good light for a good price, without any fairy dust or magic involved.